You're watching WSTV Digital Media.
Good evening. Call to order this May 21st meeting of the Winston-Salem City Council and ask the City Secretary to call the roll, please.
Councilmember Larson.
Present.
Councilmember Clark. Councilmember Bessie.
Here.
Councilmember Montgomery.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Vivian Burke. Councilmember Adams. Here. Councilmember McIntosh.
Here.
And Councilmember Taylor.
Present.
Thank you. Councilmember Burke is still nursing an injury there. She said, I talked to her today. She said she hopes to be back in June. And Councilmember Clark's on a business trip out of town, so we'll muddle along without them. Would you please join the City Council and me in a moment of silence? Thank you. And would you join the City Council with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our Sergeant at Arms tonight is Lieutenant Scott Wright. Lieutenant, thank you for being with us. May we have the first honorarium, please?
Proclamation recognizing Delta Sigma Theta Day. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is a private, not-for-profit organization whose purpose is to foster public service, scholarship, and sisterhood. And whereas it was founded on January 13, 1913 by 22 collegiate women at Howard University in Washington, D.C., and was incorporated in 1930. And whereas in 1939 the Alpha Nu Sigma chapter was chartered, and in 1959 the name was changed to the Winston-Salem Alumni Chapter. And whereas the city has one undergraduate chapter, the Pi Omicron chapter at Wake Forest University. And whereas the major programs of the sorority are centered on the organization's 5-point programmatic thrust: 1, economic development; educational development; international awareness and involvement; physical and mental health; and political awareness and involvement. And whereas members of the sorority are active in local, state, and national politics, and the group has won numerous awards on all levels. And whereas chapter program highlights include donations, financial and in kind, to community nonprofits, partnerships with other community organizations to bring awareness about political issues affecting our city, state, and nation, providing volunteers for Packathon to fill needs of hunger on an international level, a partnership with the Salvation Army Center of Hope, facilitation of homebuyers seminars in partnership with the Winston-Salem Urban League, Go Red Zumbathon, Financial Fortitude Workshop, Delta Fine Arts Incorporated, Delta Visions Incorporated, voter registration and voter rights information, scholarships. And whereas annually the sorority celebrates the events, programs, and progress of the previous year, and 2018 marks the 79th celebration of the Winston-Salem Alumni Chapter. Now therefore, I, Alan Joines, Mayor of the City of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, do hereby proclaim Monday, May 21st, 2018, Delta Sigma Theta Day in Winston-Salem, and commend the positive influence of the members of this city, given under my hand and sealed this 21st day of May, 2018.
Thank you. We had a good afternoon here with members of the sorority, had a good discussion and a conversation and a photo op, if you will. I want to ask Councilmember Adams, who is also a member of the sorority, to please come with me as we present this, if that's okay. And the president is Elizabeth Newton. She'll come forward. the sorority and all you do to make our city a much better place.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. I'd like to make a few comments. Mayor Jones, elected officials, and residents of Forsyth County, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Elizabeth Newton, president of the Winston-Salem Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Let me first thank you for allowing us to be here today. Mayor Jones, I also want to extend a special thanks to you for the support that you have given us over the years. Your presence at our special events has meant so much to us. It was in 1913 when 22 undergraduate women on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. founded Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. These women envisioned a sorority focused on eliminating barriers and handicaps to academic excellence, economic improvement, physical and mental health, and improving the political and social well-being of their communities. We continue that focus today. In alignment with the chapter's strategic priorities, we have partnered with community agencies such as the Urban League, Crisis Control Ministries, Salvation Army Center of Hope, Community Care Center, ACE Academy, and Democracy North Carolina. Last week, we kicked off our May Week celebration. May Week is a national program of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. A week is set aside for signature programs to highlight academic and professional achievements and to emphasize the importance of higher education. Some highlights of the week included, on Tuesday, volunteering at Green Nest to sort, clean, and organize furniture and household goods for individuals transitioning to housing. Thursday, members of the chapter read books to the students at North Hills Elementary School. On Friday, members volunteered at North Hills to distribute weekend backpack meals, and on yesterday, we honored African-American students with the highest grade point average at each of the Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools. In addition, 8 female students were recognized because of their character, academic excellence, and service to their communities. These students will receive a $500 scholarship to assist in their college education. This evening, we are happy to be at City Hall to culminate our May Week celebration. Again, I want to take this opportunity, but before I sit down, I invite the members again to stand with me. We are so happy to continue the vision of our founders. We're very proud of the partnerships and collaborations we have had, and I know that we will continue to have with Winston-Salem Forsyth County. Mayor Jones, we're very grateful for the support and very thankful for this recognition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Adams?
Yeah. Again, good evening, sorors. Again, welcome to City Hall. And it is without saying the tremendous amount of work that you do every day in the city of Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, the state of North Carolina, as well as all over the country. As everyone that you don't know, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated is known as an organization that was right there with the women's suffrage when they marched on Washington, D.C. For the right to vote. We have always been on the forefront of just about every civil rights, educational issue, economic development, much like our 5 points. We just finished electing new officers. Again, Soror Elizabeth Newton, our president, this is her last term with us. And again, thank you for everything that you've done over the past 4 years with our chapter. Our new president, Soror Smith, please stand. Yeah, you get the chance to stand up. I just want to tell you that the sorors in the city look forward to working with you under your leadership over the next 2 years. Again, just stay doing what you do. You know, the city thanks you again for partnering in every opportunity to help the citizens of Winston-Salem be better than what we are. As the mayor said earlier, hold us accountable. Hold us accountable. Get a little checklist, a scorecard, and grade us on the things that we do to hold us accountable to the citizens of Winston-Salem as well as you who are taxpayers of the city. Again, with that, thank you so much for coming out to Delta Days at City Hall. And I know in another few weeks you'll be at Delta Days at the legislature, at the General Assembly. And then you'll be on to Delta Days at the United Nations. So again, thank you each and every one for coming out tonight.
Thank you. Councilmember Montgomery?
I just want to take an opportunity just to echo the great comments made by Councilmember Adams to celebrate all of you all who are gathered here today. When I look out over this crowd, I see educators, I see individuals who are community leaders, I see individuals who I've worked with as a student at Winston-Salem State University, I see classmates, I see individuals who work for city government, I see people who care about their community, but who've been brought together by Delta Sigma Theta to have a larger impact in this community and all across this country and even across the world. And for that, I want to say thank you on behalf of those individuals who can't say thank you, those individuals who are not in this room today to celebrate the work, but also to impress upon you how much your organization and other organizations like yours are needed today to continue to lift up those principles that your organization stands for and to raise those conversations to the forefront to ensure that individuals around this table, around as those in the community, are not only having the conversations, but moving to do something about the issues in our communities that we face. And the fact that you can fill this chamber tonight means that there's power in your organization and power in your numbers, and use that so that we can make different changes in our community, because that makes a difference. So thank you.
Thank you. We have item H2, please.
Item H2, presentation to the Mayor Alan Joines by Visit Winston-Salem.
Oh, Rich Geiger is here, I believe. Mr. Geiger?
I apologize to all of you, and thank you
Not sure
for
what'll work.
doing everything that you do. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Mayor Joines, council members, I'm here tonight really just to say thank you. On behalf of Visit Winston-Salem, the Tourism Development Authority, thank you for your foresight and investment in the Benton Convention Center renovations. The $20 million that has gone into that center, which have made tremendous changes and improvement to that building, particularly the expanded space and lobby space, the artwork, the downstairs renovations to the old exhibit hall. We're reaping the benefits now. Customers and clients are very happy with the improvements that were made to the convention center. We're getting accolades in convention trade publications and state, regional, and national publications. As I stand here today, looking out 1 year into 2019, we have 10,000 more hotel room nights contracted than we would have had a year ago if I stood here looking out into 2018. So you're seeing the great dividends being paid by the investment that all of you made. So we appreciate that on behalf of the community in terms of it is truly an economic engine, and with a little cleaning up and some improvements, as we know it all needed, it has made a huge difference. I'll remind the council that we did continue to keep the building open during those, what was supposed to be 18 months, seemed to have been a little bit longer, as we all know. But we had incredible help and collaboration and cooperation from the city staff, the city manager, and in particular, Assistant City Manager Ben Rao. I have done this for over 35 years. I've expanded in buildings in Buffalo and in Orlando. I have never worked with a better, more professional person than Ben representing city government. Really, not only did he obviously was critical for him to obviously understand the needs and his responsibility to the council, but at the same time he had equal concerns for the customers and the people that were bringing business here. And I can tell you, we got through those 18 months, 2 years, without any challenges. I mean, there were challenges, but in terms of clients leaving or canceling or saying we're not coming back, not one. So it was a lot of credit to the city staff for helping that happen. It took a lot of people. So again, I want to just thank you, and I want to leave this with the mayor, for the city council members. Picture, a photo, photo of the new Benton renovation, the front. The Benton Convention Center in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, reinvented July 28th, 2017, which was the ribbon cutting with the commemorative coin as well. So I leave this with the mayor to hopefully be hung in an appropriate place in City Hall. Thank you, Rich. Thank you,
On behalf of the council and the city staff, Ben, maybe you should hang in your office with all the work that you did on this, but thank you, Rich. Thank you for nudging us along in the right way.
Well, I think Mr. Garrity said it would have been a little bit more than a nudge at times, but it worked out great, and really we appreciate everything that you've done and continue to do for Winston-Salem. Thank you.
Thank you. Tonight's agenda of the City Council is comprised of two parts, the consent agenda and the general agenda. It's always the practice of the council to take the consent agenda as the first order of business. Items on this agenda will be enacted with one motion. These items are coming from committees with a unanimous vote or being placed on the agenda in accordance with established city policy. Items not removed from the consent agenda, as I said, will be enacted with one motion. Council members may request an item to be removed. This meeting is being televised live tonight on TV 13, and it will be replayed tomorrow at 9 a.m. and again Wednesday at 9 p.m. Copies of the agenda as well as videos of our meetings are always available online at www.cityofws.org, and just click on the Watch City Council Meetings online link. Are there any items? Councilman McIntosh?
C3.
C3.
C2.
C23.
23. Okay. May I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the balance.
Second.
Motion second to approve the balance. I'm not sure our electronic voting is working tonight, so we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. All those in favor of the motion to approve the balance for the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, we are up. All right, so we'll go ahead and
We get to do both.
vote. And all those in favor vote yes. Anyone opposed, vote no.
I'm not on. I vote yes.
Okay.
It's unanimous. We're voting manual. Okay, so it's unanimous. All right, now we go to item C2.
Item C2, resolution naming the Public Safety Center in honor of Mayor Pro Tempore Burke and council member of the Northeast Ward, Vivian H. Burke, recommended by the Community Development Housing General Government Committee.
I recognize the chairman of the Housing General Government Committee, Councilmember Montgomery.
Yeah, I just actually wanted to highlight this and to bring this out of the consent agenda to be out in public record. I think this is very, very significant, and it causes for us to pause to be able to celebrate and pay homage to Councilmember Burke and her service as we vote to name the Public Safety Center in her honor. And Mayor, I know that you brought this forward to us and wanted to make sure that that was put in the public record, that we do celebrate this and that we move forward with this. Sure, a lot more will happen once we approve this, but just wanted to lift that up out of the agenda tonight.
Correct.
Second.
Motion and second. Councilmember Adams. Yes.
Yeah, just wanted to say the Mayor Pro Tem's not here. I did talk with her this afternoon for a very long time. We stay in touch a lot. And before the mayor brought this to us, we had in our ordinances or statutes that you could only get a building, have it named after you or anything if you're an elected official when you leave, when you're finished being that elected official, and or if some other tragedy or something happens. And Mayor Pro Tem Burke has served longer than I think any elected council member in this whole United States. She's been doing this for what, about 35 years?
40.
40 years. 40 years. So it was only fitting that we named something very, very special and closest to her heart. And she also was one of the longest serving public safety chair persons of the Winston-Salem City Council. So I am honored just to be on this council, to be able to see this come to fruition for her, that she can see the benefits of her lifelong commitment to public service.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. And we're not working, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And that, of course, is unanimous. And congratulations to Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Burke. And we'll have an event that the city manager and I have been talking about that we will properly recognize this naming right. Item C3.
Item C3, resolution electing new inductees for the Winston-Salem Arts, Culture, and Entertainment Memorial Walk of Fame, recommended by the Community Development, Housing, and General Government Committee.
Councilmember McIntosh.
In a similar vein, I wanted to bring this to light and just share what I think we all in council think is a really exciting way to honor the entertainers and contributors to the arts in our community, of which there are quite a few. So if we could just get a quick reading of the inductees from somebody, that would be great.
Mr. Rao.
Good evening, Mayor Joines, members of the City Council. Good evening. So the Mayor and City Council created the Winston-Salem Arts, Culture, and Entertainment Memorial Walk of Fame back in November 2015. We've accepted nominations over the last 3 years, held off on doing an unveiling while the convention center was under renovation. But the General Government, the Community Development Housing General Government Committee did recommend the following slate of nominees to the Walk of Fame. So in the class of 2016, the inaugural class, we have the 5 Royals for music, Larry Leon Hamlin for theater, Phil Haynes for arts philanthropy, and William Samuel Scales for theater and motion pictures. For the class of 2017, John Yulee, who was the longtime conductor for the Winston-Salem Symphony, so in the area of music. And then for the class of 2018, Chris Murrell for music, and then Dr. Robert Wise for radio.
Thank you.
Get a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Not all in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. And that, I believe, is unanimous. Are we back voting?
Yeah.
Okay, that is unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, item C23.
Item C23, resolution of the City Council of the City of Winston-Salem, North Carolina, making certain statements of fact concerning a proposed bond issue.
Councilmember Best, you wanted this one, I believe?
Yes, this is something that I think is going to go forward on a consensus basis from the council, but it is an important milestone in this process of major new investments for our city, and I think it would be appropriate to have a brief staff summary of what we're proposing to do here.
All right. Mr. Rao?
Yes, sir. Mayor Joines, members of the City Council. Back in January, the Mayor and City Council held the first of 2 workshops to go over a list of unfunded capital needs and also the recommendations from the Citizen Capital Needs Committee. From those workshops, a $122 million package was developed at the direction of the Mayor and Council staff, and the council members held 9 community meetings throughout the city to receive feedback on the proposed bond package. The package totals $122 million and includes investments in the areas of economic development, housing, public safety facilities, parks and recreation, and streets and sidewalks. In terms of the dollar amounts for each of those, because separate orders would be established on the ballot if this moves forward for a vote in November. $14.5 million for economic development, $11.7 million for housing, $21.1 million for public safety facilities, $31 million for parks and recreation facilities and investments, and $43.7 million for streets and sidewalks.
All right. I think it's worthy of notation that we last sent a bond referendum to the public for their consideration in 2014. We were very specific about what we said we were going to do. We have worked hard, and our staff has worked harder to see that it has been done. And with that background, we took this out to public discussion and consideration, got very strong majority support for moving forward with it, and so now it'll be up to the voters in November. We think that we have a package that is responsive to what the public is asking for from the city in terms of improving our physical facilities in streets and sidewalks, public safety, parks and recreation, housing development and economic development, and we look forward to getting that public response back in November.
Thank you. Councilmember Montgomery?
Just a couple additional thoughts to add to Councilmember Bessie's, particularly in the past bond referendum. I think it's important for the community to reflect and see the amount of dollars spent and the diversity in terms of how the investments were made throughout the community, from parks and recs, economic development dollars, housing dollars, how those dollars were spent throughout the community, but then also the timing of how we spent those dollars. Not knocking the county in any way, but the county has taken steps in different ways how they spend their bond dollars, which has resulted in an increase of costs of doing work. We went out and staff worked very, very hard to ensure that the citizens of Winston-Salem will get the best bang for their buck, not only ensuring projects getting done at the dollar amount, and some of those prices went up, but not as much as if we waited years down the road after voters asked for these projects to get done. But then also we have a great financial staff who also saved money for the citizens of Winston-Salem in terms of the bonds, in terms of how we sold the bonds. So in this process of this past bond referendums, the city and the citizens actually got more for your dollars than we would have if we'd approached this differently. So I think that's great kudos to city staff, and that's something for citizens to understand, that these dollars were in good hands with city staff and those who are responsible for executing.
Thank you. And we went a step further. Even we appointed a Citizens Oversight Committee that worked with Mr. Rao and the staff to make sure that we spent the dollars exactly the way we said we were going to, and they report to me and the City Council every quarter on those dollars. So, Mr. Bessie, would you make a motion there?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. That is unanimous. Thank you, Councilmember Bessie. We'll now go back to the general agenda, which is comprised of the following items. We have an item related to a public hearing on a street closure, an item related to a public hearing on a resolution authorizing the execution of a lease, an item to excuse Councilmember Bessie from voting on item G4, an item related to a resolution authorizing financial assistance, an item to excuse Councilmember Montgomery from voting on item G6, and an item related to an ordinance amending the project budget fiscal year 2017-2018 ordinance, and an item related to the resolution providing for the appointment process of the Director of the City County Office of Emergency Management, as well as our public comment period. May we have item G1, please?
Item G1, public hearing on a resolution ordering the closing of a portion of Fogle Street, petition of WFIQ Holding LLC located in the East Ward. This item was recommended by the Public Works Committee.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the council chamber who wishes to be heard on this proposed street closing? Seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. This did come out of Public Works Committee, but it's also in the East Ward, so I would defer to the council member from the East Ward for a motion if he's ready.
I'd like a motion and a comment. Move approval.
Second.
Okay, Councilman, please go ahead.
There was one question I brought up in committee. This particular area of street is cobblestone, and it was asked in terms of how that would be preserved. There will be an easement that will be over this property in terms of historic easement over that property, and then as well the overall maintenance of the property will be on Wake Forest Innovation Quarter. The second thing that I'd just like to enter into the record in reference to items coming from Innovation Quarter and other items in terms of work there, I have had some conversation with individuals, just a level of concern about some of the commitments that we have outstanding. I want to make sure, and I'm looking to the city manager, that the commitments that we have enumerated in writing that we uphold to ensure that the citizens get what has been committed out of our investments in this part of the community, and not having those things will shade how I look at additional items moving forward.
Thank you. We've got a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? Not all in favor of the motion, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. And that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Councilmember Montgomery. Item G2.
Item G2, public hearing on resolution authorizing the execution of a lease for surplus space in the Union Station building located at 300 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive under the provisions of North Carolina General Statutes 160A-272, located in the East Ward. Finance Committee forwarded this item to council with 1 in favor, none opposed, and 2 abstaining.
Yes, sir. Make a comment there?
Yes. You want a summary?
Please. It's a brief one, yes.
Okay. This resolution deals with a lease at Union Station. Atkins CDC and the city have been approached by Elizabeth's Pizza about opening a restaurant in a 3,000 square foot space in Suite 210. Initial term would be 5 years with 2 5-year options. The tenant would pay approximately $40,000 in equipment upfit costs, and the city would provide $283,000 in equipment upfit costs and finish out space of the space. Some questions were asked in Finance Committee, and all council members have the responses and answers to those questions. Lou Baldwin, representing the tenant, is here if you have any further questions.
Any questions? Councilmember Larson.
Yes, I noticed in the packet that we received, they had the various floor plans with allocation of spaces, but what I didn't really see was the drawing that showed exactly the spaces that Elizabeth planned to occupy. Did I miss that?
The space is in the
Could you pull up
level.
level 3 and
Level
illustrate that exactly? Because it's 3,000 square feet, and I'm not quite sure how that lays on the floor plan. And the reason I'm sort of pressing on this point is that the arrangement is 12,000 square feet that's available for leasing. And so this will be, what, 1/4 of that space. And I'm just trying to understand how much is left and where it's left.
Okay. It's this space right here. The portion here is separate. This is a separate suite over here. It's the lighter pink space, if you can see that.
Okay.
Right in here. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive is right here.
Okay, so that's the 3,000 square feet of pink space.
This is a 3,000 square feet.
And that will have a kitchen installed in it?
Yes.
In that space?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember McIntosh?
More comment.
Oh, let's wait. Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the council chamber who wishes to be heard on this proposed lease agreement? All right, seeing no one, I declare the public hearing closed. Now I recognize Councilmember McIntosh.
Yeah, I will be supporting this tonight. I had a lot of questions at Finance and abstained from voting on it. It's a fairly complicated deal, and I didn't feel like we had enough information to make a good decision on. I think the city of Winston-Salem has proved over the years that incentives work if they're tailored accurately and run well. I think Restaurant Row and the Nissen Building are both proof positive that we can get a big bang out of our buck. I was a little concerned about the level of support on this, but I know it's an area that we really want to jumpstart, and it's an important part of the city. So I know I drove staff a little crazy with questions, but I am comfortable with the answers, and I do want to thank the lessees for working with us on the percentage lease, and I'm assuming that will be part of this agreement. Thank you.
All right, I actually should have gotten a motion on the floor, and Councilmember Adams is the Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee. I'm calling her for a motion. If she's ready, then I'll
Move for
recognize.
approval of item G2.
Okay, motion second. Now call on Councilmember Adams for comments.
Yes. Again, this goes to show that economic development, and this was discussed in the meeting with my sorors, when it comes to economic development in the urban core of our city, which is the Southeast Ward, East Ward, Northeast Ward, and the North Ward, we have for years been without a lot of the amenities that everybody takes for granted on Stratford Road or Haynes Mall Boulevard, or downtown even. We don't have the amenity of just a restaurant that you can stop at with your families and whatever in our communities. As Councilmember McIntosh said, sometimes we have to get real creative and innovative and intentional about economic development in our communities. And when we make these decisions and people come forward to work with us to make these things come to fruition, then yes, there are going to be some of us who are a little bit more supportive. And it's not that we're trying to circumvent the process. It just amazes me all my life that I've lived here, that whenever we want to put something sometimes in our communities, because we didn't get whatever by way that everybody else got, that it becomes more of a lot of questions. And again, it's not that we're trying to circumvent the process. We understand why you ask the questions, but we also ask the council and the public to be a little bit more understanding of us trying to jumpstart our communities. So that's why I supported it, Mayor, Councilmember Montgomery. Where's Ms. Davis? Carol. She here? Back there. That's why I was so adamant about this, is that we have an old building that happened to be located on Claremont Avenue, which is now Martin Luther King. I used to catch trains to go to school, Baltimore, back in the early 70s. It went dark, much like Whitaker Park, much like those tobacco buildings in the Innovation Quarter. I say what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Let's make sure everybody understands that going forward, as the council member said, we will be taking some stands on making sure that our communities are not left out anymore of any type of economic development in this city. So all of you out there, business developers and staff knows what this is about. We just want parity with everybody else. That's all we're asking. And again, I thank staff for working with Ms. Davis and those at the Atkins CDC. I think Winston-Salem State University got some people up in here tonight as well. Thank you all for bringing this, helping us get to some finished business on this so we can eat pizza and maybe some other things at the Union Railroad Station on Martin Luther King.
Good. Councilman Montgomery.
Yes. To echo Councilmember Adams, when I came into office in 2009, Union Station project was a whole lot of dreaming and idealism in terms of what could happen. It was a whole lot of pictures of what could take place in the Union Station project. It has been well over 10, 15 years of people working to move this project forward. Those who have come before me and then those who have worked with myself and individuals in the community. Many, many, many community meetings, listening to citizens who live in the neighborhood, in the community, asking the questions of what would you like to see in your community, in your neighborhood. One of the number one things that we hear from folks who are in the community outside of economic opportunities is the fact that when I leave my house, I have nowhere to eat. And the bare fact that we have these type of disparities in our communities, that I only have one place that I can go through that's a sit-down restaurant within 5 minutes from my house, and the rest of them are fast food restaurants, the fact of us being able to help make something like that happen in this property meets the needs of citizens in the community. And not only that, but it creates economic opportunities. There are people who will be employed here. There are individuals who will have opportunities at jobs, although not the highest paying jobs, there are opportunities for economic mobility to start in this place. And then when you look at Union Station and the dollar amount of investment that has taken place there, $18 million has been allocated for the total investment in the Union Station project. We're moving swiftly towards being able to see that completion of this first phase of development by the end of the year. That's what staff, that's still right? All right. But got to check. But what we will see as an end result is a historic building being reutilized, gaining new energy, and to have individuals like SGAC and CDC, who is associated with the greatest university this side of heaven, Winston-Salem State University, helping to push along things that are happening on the Martin Luther King corridor, I think is more of what we need to see happening. And to have individuals and realtors like Lou Baldwin and others in the community who are not willing to bring their tenants to our community and say, this is a great place for you to make an investment. Because what has happened in our community is not that we have not had public investment. We've had private dollars who've been afraid to invest in our neighborhoods and our community. And we have to change that picture because we have an opportunity for investments in our community. And if they won't make the investment, we have to find opportunities in others who will make the investment because there are people there who are needing it and who are wanting it. And this is just one step in the right direction. After 10, 15 years, come the end of this year, we're going to see something amazing coming and taking place and taking shape in Union Station. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Larson?
Yes. This project financially, if you just look at the hard cold figures of it, may be a difficult sell, but we have to look beyond that, I think, in this particular case, because what we're really establishing is a anchor tenant, 3,000 square feet in a 12,000 square foot area to be rented. We're providing a service to a population of students, particularly at Winston-Salem State University and in the neighborhoods, to provide them something they haven't had. It's giving new energy to a building that has been long neglected, and we worked really hard as a city to acquire that property, taking years to basically accommodate it. We're moving our transportation department's offices into the lower level. So we will now have energy throughout the building to revitalize it. We'll still have spaces available for additional income production, which I will look forward to having the Atkins CDC bring forward to us additional tenants to put in those spaces to make an income flow that will justify in part the $13 million investment that we've already made in it. There's no question that the last train station in Winston-Salem is worthy of our attention and worthy of our investment, and to find a way to energize it for the neighborhood and for the city as a whole. This is a city project, and it's important to all of us to have this back online, so I will be supporting this.
Thank you. Councilor Bessie?
Yeah, just I want folks to keep in mind that this is a transportation project. And one of the reasons it's so important to this location in this part of our city is that investment follows transportation infrastructure. And I believe that we will see it again in this case. We expect it to be a multimodal transportation facility. It will be serving bus routes, and it will be serving train routes. It will start, I believe, with serving as the most important Winston-Salem endpoint for our regular connector to the High Point train station and Amtrak. I believe that it will go on beyond that to serve fixed routes that have a stop at Union Station. But that's longer term, we're working on it, and in the meantime it will have this other transportation use as well as serving as an energizer economically for the community around it.
Thank you for bringing that point forward, Councilmember Bessie. We do have a long-term commitment from the state to make that connector, and I think now that the station is finished, we can now go back to the state and ask them to honor that commitment. So, Councilmember Montgomery, you had another
just
point.
one last thing, and Councilman Bessie mentioned in reference to the bus connection there. Please, 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 public, please help us kill the fallacy that's out there that this will become the new downtown bus station. The bus station downtown is not going anywhere. It is not moving to Union Station. There will be stops at this location. This will not take the place or replace the bus station downtown. That has been something that's been floating out there. So if you can help us tell the truth, that will not, the bus station downtown will not move. There will just be connection points like other stops, and hopefully a home for some of our park transportation as well.
Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, please vote no. That motion passes unanimously with Councilmember Bessie being excused. No, excuse me, not on this one.
Not yet.
That passes unanimously.
Yeah, next.
I only saw 5 votes. Was it? Okay. Your vote's not showing up?
Yes.
Okay, so everybody's there. All right, now we go to item G3. For the record, that was a 6 in favor motion there.
Item G3, motion to excuse Councilmember Bessie from voting on item G4.
Councilmember Bessie has indicated there wants to be excused to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. May I have a motion to excuse?
So moved.
A motion and a second. All those in favor, please vote by saying yes, and anyone opposed, vote no. Okay, Councilmember Bessie, you're excused from voting on item G4.
Item G4, resolution authorizing financial assistance to 1001 South Marshall MM LLC for community development purposes pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 168-458.3, recommended by the Finance Committee.
Recognize Councilmember Adams, Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee, if she's ready for a motion.
Yes, I move for approval of item G4.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion? Not all in favor of the motion, please. I'm sorry, Councilmember Montgomery.
I just want to say, one, I support this project, but I do want, and I intentionally waited to see what kind of comments would come at this moment. And I do want to bring that to this council. John and the rest of the folks know that I thoroughly support this project, but I do want us to see the difference in between the debate between this item and the previous item in terms of what we're investing here and how we're investing differently. This is going to be great for our community. I think it's going to open up an opportunity for a lot of small business owners to do some amazing things in our community. But if we're going to be particular about items, let's be consistently particular about how we process these items.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. motion passes with 5 in favor and 1 abstained or excused from voting. Thank you very much. Now, item G5.
Item G5, motion to excuse Councilmember Montgomery from voting on item G6.
And we generally excuse Councilmember Montgomery from items that are involving the use of federal housing dollars because of his role with the Bethesda Center. I would entertain a second. Motion second to excuse Councilmember Montgomery from voting. All those in favor, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. That passes unanimous. Councilmember Montgomery excused from voting on item G6.
Item G6, ordinance amending the project budget ordinance for the City of Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the fiscal year 2017-2018, home funds for the Enclave 2 project located in the North Ward, recommended by the Finance Committee.
And I'd recognize Councilmember Adams, Vice Chairman, Finance Committee.
Yes, I move for approval of item G6.
Second.
Motion second. Any discussion? Councilmember Adams?
Again, this is I'd say a collaboration of different partnerships, the city, the state, the county, a bunch of moving parts. But we were able to get the Enclave 1 up. I think it was the first project I did as an elected official to the City Council in 2010. But in this one, we got a lot of awards. I don't know if Mellon here, Dirk, it's Mellon, Sora, Mellon Parker. She was very instrumental in the Enclave project, along with staff, Dirk Page and others. The one thing I want people to understand, again, is Councilmember Montgomery, his closest to his heart, and all of us, is affordable housing. It doesn't matter how many jobs you create or bring to any municipality if people don't have somewhere that they can afford to live. If you're using 30 to 40% of your income to live somewhere, as well as buy food and other things, then you're just working poor. That's what it is. But in this one right here, this has been a very successful project. It stays leased up. There's always a waiting list of hundreds of people that want to move there. It's a mixed community. And with this one, we're now getting ready to bring on 96 units, and 72 of them are going to be affordable. And it'll be up to earnings of up to 60% of the average median income, ranging in rents from $613 to $847 a month. And I think that's another great day in the city of Winston-Salem. Again, on some of these issues, people, we have to be intentional. And I think affordable housing is one of those areas at the city of Winston-Salem, being driven by Councilmember Montgomery, that we are going to be intentional about bringing affordable housing and workforce housing to the city of Winston-Salem.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Any further discussion? Not all those in favor of the motion, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. And that motion passes 5 in favor, with Councilmember Montgomery being excused from voting. Thank you very much. Item G7.
Item G7, resolution ratifying and authorizing revisions by the City of Winston-Salem and County of Forsyth to the interlocal agreement providing the appointment process of the Director of the City-County Office of Emergency Management.
Mr. City Manager, you want to give us just a brief statement on what we're doing here?
Absolutely, Mayor. This change is consistent with several other changes the Council's made over the last year. You may recall that we made some changes in the appointment process for human relations as well as public assembly facilities to clarify that. In this case, so in consultation with the county, county's had some discussions with the School of Government, and that they recommend this change to clarify the appointment process and removal process for emergency management director. This change would necessitate the city manager to be responsible for making a recommendation for the emergency management director. That recommendation would still come to both the city council and the county commissioners as required by state law for your final approval.
Any questions for the manager? All right, I would entertain a motion. I would recognize Councilmember Taylor, Chairman of the Public Safety Committee.
Mayor, members of the council, I make a motion to approve this item.
Second. Any discussion?
Just a quick comment.
Yes, sir. Council.
Mayor, members of the council, as Mr. Manager has said, we've been out without an emergency management director since January. With the passing of Mr. Mills Sadler, again, our condolences go to his family. This is necessary to speed up the process of appointment, and I appreciate your support at this time.
Good. All All right, all those in favor, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed, vote no. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, council members.
Thank you.
Item G8.
Item G8, public comment period.
This is a time once per month that we invite citizens to address the City Council on matters that are germane to city government. We set aside 30 minutes for this discussion, and we'd ask that those speakers to come forward and give your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. First person signed up is Craig Schwab, I think it is.
Good evening. I'm going to defer for a moment to Catherine Ward-Walton, who is on the list.
No, sir. We have a rule that we take city residents first, and so Ms. Ward indicates she doesn't live in the city, so we're going to do city residents first, and then we can come. If that's
All
okay.
right. So my name is Reverend Craig Schaub.
Thank you,
I
Reverend.
live at 1238 Wedgwood Drive here in the city.
Right.
So been listening over the last year to some of our city employees who are really seeking to gain some increase in wages as they continue to provide excellent service to our city. We had an opportunity recently to listen to a presentation by City Manager Garrity outlining some of the findings that you have had by surveying all of the employees of the city, as well as doing a market study of surrounding municipalities. And understand that you're working hard to come up with an incremental plan of increasing wages to ensure that all of our city employees will have at least a $15 an hour wage by 2021. I applaud the efforts. And what I'm really strongly urging you to consider is a personnel resolution that would make that commitment in legislation for city employees. We understand that there are things that can come up that impact budgeting, but to actually make a personnel resolution would make a promise to employees that this 3-year incremental increase, as well as the compression adjustments for those who are making already 15 and beyond, to that adjustment is taken into account. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend. Reverend Paul Ford. We welcome Paul Ford to our city. We're glad to have you at First Baptist.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. I just want to stand in support of what my colleague Reverend Schaub has lifted before you all. I stood over at Winston Plaza on April 4th to remind us all that Dr. King died working for working people. And one of the best things that we can do to honor that memory and honor the work that he died for is to move forward as expeditiously as possible to draft a resolution, to bring this resolution before the entire council and to pass this resolution so that there is a public commitment to get our city workers up to a living wage, a family wage, as quickly as possible by 2021. So I just want to echo my colleagues' comments and urge us to move this forward.
Thank you, Reverend Ford. Carol Boo.
Good evening. My name is Carol Boo, and for 25 years I have lived at 2060 Union Cross Road. As a spokesperson for concerns and issues about idling motors from 18-wheel trucks that use two businesses as truck stops 7 nights a week. They are Post at 295 Business Park Drive and Stylecrest at 4040 Business Park Court. The noise is so loud from running these motors that we cannot sleep each and every night, 7 nights a week. We have to call the police several times each night, 7 days a week. Our sleep is very limited each night. We have been working with Captain Watts on these issues, and he has been very cooperative and is doing all he can. But he can only ask them to turn their motors off. He cannot make them do that. When the police leave, and if they turn their motors off after they leave, they go back and turn them back on again, which is over and over again each night. So so we have to, in return, turn around and call the police again to ask them to go back, which is a lot to ask of the police department, but they do it. We ask each and every neighbor would appreciate that this issue would be resolved so we can have a better quality of life and live normally. I understand that a meeting will be held in 2 or 3 weeks concerning these issues. I am asking that you will please change the zoning orders so we can, to prohibit the idling motors and noises so we can live and sleep in our neighborhood. A real solution would be to build a barrier wall. We're hoping for that, but we'll take anything to help us get some sleep each and every night. Please, please, if you would, take this into consideration and consider all the neighbors in the Union Cross area that live on the Union Cross side of the business park. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Boo. Philip Summers.
I was hoping to show something on. Good evening. I'm Philip Summers of 2422 Peachtree Street in Walltown. I want to thank you all for the 2017 expansion of public transportation. I think we're starting to see the benefits of that. We look forward to Union Station. I've spoke many a time about the important public health implications of transit. That's what I'm here to talk to you about again tonight. In light of the Business 40 closure, I'm very concerned about the disruption in access to care for East Winston residents. I'm proposing a fare-free route. This would be a bus route that does not charge a fare, that would have improved frequency every 30 minutes. It spans 5 wards. It has very important destinations. You can see from the map that I've given you all the way into the north, all the way to where we have a true preponderance of our health assets. So I bring you these ideas because, and they're not really my own, the Center for Disease Control says that investing in public transportation is a high-impact policy on social determinants of health, right? We stand to not only increase ridership, but decrease traffic and pollution, reduce fatalities from crashes, increase physical activity, increase access to health care, and also stimulate the economy. And I know that's something that's really important to us. This is a really practical proposal. I'm really asking for your help to think about how to get it funding. I mean, you guys are well connected. There might be a foundation that wants to pay. There might be large employers who want to contribute. But I think we stand to benefit if we create this health connector corridor. So I'm proposing 87 and 107. Sorry, I lost track of time, and I don't know. I don't want to overstep my time, but I don't know if this is right.
We'll tell you. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Well, you have a packet. There's an online map. There's probably some assets that I haven't called out there if you want to scroll through the online map. Like I said, it goes across a bunch of wards. I think it could be the type parity. I know that Councilmember Adams was talking about creativity. I think it's the type creativity we need in our transit policy. I think the numbers are also a little bit squishy, like in y'all's favor, meaning if you don't charge fare, there's also like you're not incurring the cost of counting and processing and administration. So the real hard cost would just be adding the second bus to 107 that runs to the hospital. So again, in light of Business 40 closure, I think you need another bus running from downtown to the hospital so you have frequency every 30 minutes. And just creating that corridor.
Thank you, Mr. Summers. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we go back to Catherine Walton, please. Thank you for your patience.
Good evening. I'm Catherine Walton Ward, State Director with Working America, located at 300 South Westgate Drive in Greensboro. We have 54,000 members in the Triad and 12,000 members here in Winston. And we have, over the past year, been working with city workers and community members on securing $15 an hour family wages for city workers. I'm really glad to hear that the city is having this conversation around $15 an hour by 2021. We're excited to hear, and we think that's going in the right direction. Last week at the Justice Collective meeting on Friday morning, City Manager Mr. Lee Garrity was there and shared the internal goal of this $15 an hour by 2021. And while an internal plan is really good, what we really need is a resolution, as other folks has alluded to, affirming this commitment. So we asked for you to do what Greensboro did. They passed a resolution in 2015 to bring all city workers up to $15 an hour by 2020. So give Winston-Salem city workers that security and knowing that there is a resolution on the books with a plan to get to $15 an hour by 2021. It's really time to have city workers feel comfortable that City Council has their backs, and so just please do the right thing for folks who help put y'all in office. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard during the public comment period? All right. Seeing no one, I'll declare the public comment closed. Thank you all very much for your comments, and we certainly will take that into very careful consideration as we go forward there. We do have a need to go into closed session, and I would recognize Councilmember Adams for a motion, if she would.
I move that the Winston-Salem City Council go into closed session pursuant to GS 143318.11A3 to consult with and give the city attorney instructions regarding the settlement of several claims and other legal matters and to protect the attorney-client privilege.
Second.
First and second. All those in favor of going into closed session, please indicate by voting yes. Anyone opposed? Can't. And that is unanimous, and we'll go into closed session.